Hello and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. This week we'll be previewing the upcoming Adelaide game, of course, at the G this Sunday at 1:10. We all going, boys?
Yeah, mate.
Hopefully, mate. Hopefully.
Yeah. Speechlessly, maybe not.
Probably not this week.
Probably
Not just because we
Alrighty.
suck, not just because we suck, but Easter holidays, mate.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. No, fair enough. Good time to spend with the family. Last time we met, it was one to be forgotten, to be fair. 5 goals, 15. 45 plays, 21 goals, 14, 140. So what's that, 95 points, I think? Do you remember that game well, boys? I think it might have been, was that Murph's 300s or was it around there?
Yep.
Murph's 300 game.
Trophy in the final.
Imagine if that happens this week. Oh, I shouldn't say it. All right.
Oh, no. Now it's out there.
No, now it's the opposite. Reverse psychology. It's fine.
Is that right? That's what Jack does. We'll lose by 6 goals. That's what he does every week. So, all right. Imagine if it does happen this week, though. I mean, you'd like to think we are a different team, although it wasn't really that long ago. I mean, it was what, the second last
round, yeah.
Yeah. But different team, surely. All right. We'll get stuck straight into Ethan with the key matchups, mate.
Yep. So first of all, with the key matchups, we talked about this before the episode with Wiedering's matchup, and I think Port Adelaide, their forwards they've got very similar forwards in Georgiades, Finlayson and Marshall, all very dynamic kind of forwards. They're not key forwards as such, like Harry Mackay. They're more kind of like Charlie Curnow, but obviously not as good. Who do we think Wiedering will end up playing on? Jack Speechley.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. I mean, Finlayson is a guy that scares me a little bit. Obviously, he's new to Port, but he's sort of one of those guys that pops up when he was playing for the Giants and would kick a bag of 4 or 5. So he's a little bit concerning. But I think Weeders probably takes Georgiades. He's been the most dangerous forward so far this season. Obviously, Marshall kicked 5 in the showdown, but I still think Georgiades is probably their best forward with Dixon out.
Yeah, I rate him very highly, Georgiades. Mitchell Pattinson, what do you think? Who do you think Weeders is going to take?
Yeah, mate. I reckon that is an absolute lock. Mitch Georgiades is a lock for Wiedering. And yeah, I need to clear my throat. I think Tom Marshall is okay. I think he's okay, but I definitely think Georgiades is a better footballer and definitely a more of a threat, 100%.
Just touching on Finlayson, I think he will be coming back into the side this week. That's a prediction. I'm pretty sure his only games where he's kicked 5 plus may have come against us. I think 2019. There was a few others. I think it was like 2 or 3 times he's kicked 5, and the only team he's done it against is us. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. We kind of hope we're a better side now than we were. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. Now moving on. So hopefully this week, Big Pitto is back into the lineup. We struggled in the middle. Also, we talked about it in our review, how it was 52-19 in the hit-outs. TDK was found out a little bit against more experienced and a better player in Wits. We're going to move on here to this week. Pitto and TDK take on Lycett, who could be out. And they're thinking Hayes is going to be a debutant for the Power. What do you think about this, Speechley?
I mean, it's an interesting matchup for sure. Obviously, the availability of Lycett is a big question. And obviously the availability of Pitto as well is another big question. So it could be interesting if it is TDK and Hayes going up against each other as the 2 number 1 rucks, which could potentially happen. Yes, so hopefully Pitto plays. I think if it's Hayes and Marshall as their rucks, I think we probably take that. But yeah, it's, I don't know, ruck matchups with injury clouds like that. It's it'll be interesting to find out what happens.
I think physicality-wise, Pitto helps TDK in a way. So when he does come into the ruck, the other ruckman's a bit not worn down as such, but he's not so fresh. So we'll move on. Mitchie, what do you reckon, mate?
Absolutely spot on with that. I definitely think if Pitt comes back, that will be a massive inclusion. And especially if Lycett misses, That's going to help us even more. But yeah, Hayes is in the mix for them. Even Sam Skinner, as we mentioned before, but I don't see him really coming in as a main ruckman. It's probably a big risk because he's not really played much ruck. But other than that, I don't really know who else is really in the mix for them. So yeah, I think if Lysette does get up, which let's be real, Port will probably say, look, we really need you. If you can really just push through, we really need you to play. Because other than that, there's really no one else who can really step up that's available. So let's hope he's out, but also let's hope Pinnet is in.
Samuel?
Excuse me. Yeah, sorry, my voice is going frozen now. I haven't spoken in 2 minutes now. Yeah, I think TDK up against Lysette on his own would, not be, judging from what we saw last week, would not be pretty viewing, to be completely honest. I think just from a size standpoint, I think you said it, Ethan, in terms of sort of like roughs them up a little bit in some sense. Pitto, I think that's certainly the case. I don't really know much about Hayes, obviously debutant, if he plays, but obviously Lysette, I mean, you don't wish that a player doesn't play, but it'd be ideal if he didn't play. If he doesn't play, do we still got the two rucks, do we? Or if it's just this day's bloke?
I think we have to. I think it's the way where our team's kind of built off that two ruckman. I think I like TDK forward. I know even in the Hawthorn game we were talking about, it was a bit annoying. Sometimes he would go up for grabs in the way of our key forwards, but I think rotating him through is much better than having a Silvani as the pinch hit and keeping Jack up forward.
Yeah, I think it's sort of Melbourne. I think it started that in the sense they got Jackson, I think, and Gone, whatever. Then a few teams sort of adapting to that two ruck. And there's been a lot of talk about it recently about the two ruck. So, I completely agree. But yeah, I think it's definitely a big win if Pitto gets up.
Yep. So I'll move on to our forwards. So obviously Harry Mackay and Kerner, I think they weren't particularly fantastic against the Gold Coast Suns to their expectations as they're two superstars for a football club. So their matchups will probably be Jonas and Clury. I think they're two very solid defenders. I think Port's been quite successful over the last few years, obviously not winning flags, but built off some very solid players as them two. What do you reckon, Speechley, on these matchups?
I mean, obviously got massive respect for Jonas and Clury. I mean, they do their jobs perfectly for the most part. Probably haven't had the season they would have hoped so far. I guess you could say about that for the whole Port Adelaide team. So it's interesting because it is an interesting time to get them because, they haven't been playing their best footy, but then also means that they're going to be really hungry to, step up and, hold these, star forwards to as minimal goals as possible. So I think probably in terms of form and overall talent, Mackay and Kerner probably win out, but I think it'll be a lot closer than a lot of people would probably think.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a lot of respect for the opponent again. I think last week in the preview for the Gold Coast game, we kind of talked about Harry and Charlie just being able to dominate, but their defenders were very, very good. I thought Collins was fantastic. I think he's very solid. He's had a good start to the year. So we can't underestimate their defence. Pattinson, what's your thoughts?
Yep, Speech said it perfectly there. I think you just need to respect these players. Massive respect for both of them. Jonas especially, he's captain, so he's obviously an awesome player, but also he's been there for a very long time. He's probably held down some of the best players in the comp, really. So it's a big one for Mackay and Kerner, and I think it's a good test because you probably can't really walk in now and say, oh, yeah, we've got these guys because they're definitely up to the contest. So it's probably a good test for them, but I think they should have it covered. We know how good Mackay and Kerner is. So, so let's just hope that they can respond this week.
Samuel, any final thoughts on this forward matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I think Speech and Pato said it really well. They're both experienced. Obviously, Jonas been captain, been there for a long time, been an important player for a long time, but obviously Mackay and Kerner are sort of a bit younger, but probably arguably more skillful, you'd say. But with an inclusion of obviously Durden as well, I think we'll get the win there, but be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think for us to win games of footy, I think we need Harry and Charlie kicking a few, probably combined 6 at least. I know that's asking a lot, but if they're kicking 6 combined, 6, 7 combined, we're very, very hot. Yep.
Is that asking a lot? I mean, that's only 3 goals each, 4 goals to 2. I don't think that's asking a lot. I think that's pretty good minute, like probably 5 minutes. I think I don't think that's asking too much from your two main forwards.
Yeah. No, you're right. But I guess, you got other forwards in there who are going to kick a few. So if they do end up kicking 6, we're a high chance. But yeah, that's it for the matchups, Samuel.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, mate. Good job. All righty. We'll move on to under the pump. Off the back of last week's performance, we could probably almost go through the whole team. But we'll stick to one person each if we can. Speechley?
It's interesting. Obviously, you said it well. Most of the team, all the team really is under the pump from last week. I think for me personally, Owies is probably most under the pump. I think I might have said him last week. But just because there is, Motlop knocking on the door as well in the 2. So he's really got to have that point of difference, I guess, and to really prove why he should still be in the side after, a couple not so great performances by his standard.
Well said, mate. Pato?
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys probably are under the pump with their own standards. Obviously not from us giving him absolute shit, but my player, a little bit different. I wanted to go with Owies, but I might just change it up a little just because all these players probably should be under the pump with the performance they gave last week. But mine's Adam Cerra. I mean, we said it in the review show that since round 1, even in round 1, like round 1 he was good, but he didn't put on an absolute special, like a best on ground performance. Like he was good, but once again, it's tough to put on shit on this young guy. Like he's 22, so you can't really put too much shit on him. But I think definitely he would be once again the first guy to actually say that that he's not playing as well as he probably would have hoped. But I think Adam Cerra, because I rate him so highly. Like I think he's an absolute gun, and like we all see that as well. But I think Adam Cerra definitely is under the pump this week.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot more, pressure is the right word on someone that comes in. There's a lot of talk about it when he came in as well. So yeah, you have to sort of feel not bad for him. He's doing pretty well for himself, but at such a young age, all that pressure that comes moving, especially interstate as well. A lot of pressure comes with it. But yeah, Ethan?
Just touching on Cerra, I think it's a very different situation for the guys we bring into the club right now. I think our list is much better. There's actually a clear direction where we want to take this team. So instead, in a few years ago, it was McGovern. It's like, where the hell are we playing him? What's he going to be? It's such a mystery. But once Cerra came in, we know what he was going to be. And I think he'll turn out good. I think he'll be fine. We've got so many midfielders, it's actually hard to stand out, especially if they're all playing good footy. So I think he'll be all right. My under the pump is Jack Martin, and I think he's been under the pump for about 2 years. It's a bit of a, it's a talking point, but no one really talks about it too much compared to, other players such as, your O'Briens who are always under the pump just because he's Lockie O'Brien. But, Jack Martin, he's one of those guys who he gets himself in the right place all the time. And he, drops easy marks and he just goes missing too much for me. I know his position's tough, so you're not going to be dominating every quarter, but, you can't be putting one quarter showings like he did, against Richmond, which was a great last quarter, but you just can't be doing that. Especially, in a team sport as AFL is, you just can't be hidden for, 2 to 3 quarters.
Yeah, you pretty much took mine off me. I was pretty much going to say exactly the same thing. Yeah, he does look good. Like you get to see his position as well, and then drops a chest mark. Like I don't know if it's a matter of sort of spending it before he had it, but I'll try and pick a new one. Oh God, I was pretty much sold on that. I'll go Plowman to upset Jack a little bit, but look at him, he's unhappy. I think Plowman. I mean, he's been in the team for a long time now. How long has he been here for?
2016.
Oh,
yeah, 26 years.
26 years.
Oh, 2016. I don't know. Like he does cop a lot of unwarranted hate, but I think last week he was pretty average. I mean, I know he's playing on. It depends who you say he's playing on, but I think he probably comes out of the side, which we'll get to in a second. We'll move on to potential inclusions. Potentially Stocker could see himself into the side. Omac obviously coming off the back of an injury. I think he's got a test in the next sort of 24 hours, I believe. Pitnet and then Durden as well. Who do we see coming in? Who do we see making way, Ethan?
It's an interesting one this week. Off a back of a pretty shitty loss. It was only a 5-goal loss, but there was so many players that struggled. So you kind of have to make changes. So I see Stocker coming in for Plowman. It's tough. That's tough. Obviously, Pito coming in. I'd imagine Cripper for Cripper. I don't think a Paddy Dow comes in for mine. I don't think we need another midfielder coming in. I think we have enough rotating through there, and especially what we're talking about with Fisher. I think he can rotate through the middle a bit more this week. Who else is there? Durden for Fogarty. So Pito for Cripps, Durden for Fogarty, and Stocker for Plowman.
And then as for Boyd, do you see him medical sub? Because he was medical sub, wasn't he? Then he came on for Cripps, is that right?
I think he could be dropped and Fogarty could be the medical sub.
Pato?
Yeah, I think Liam Stocker comes in for Lockie Plowman. Corey Durden comes in for Lockie Fogarty. Mark Pitney comes in for Paddy Cripps. With maybe a midfielder, maybe like a Zach Fisher or even a Zach Williams transitioning through the midfield. And my medical sub will be Omac if he's free, if he's available. So I just wouldn't mind having Lewis Young one more game at it. And especially since, if Omac is 100% fit, if they kind of thought that last week about Omac, he's not 100% this week, but he's going to be 100% next week, then play him. But I think with Omac, if he's 100%, I want him to play. But it's a tough one. I wouldn't mind having him as a medical sub and having the big Lewis Young in for one more game.
So if he does a test, so as we film this, we'll say Wednesday night. So if he's Thursday, Friday, he's all good, 100%, no issues at all. Does he play in front of Young? And then if he's not 100%, you would put him as medical sub. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a tough one because obviously I don't want our medical sub to be 95%. I want our medical sub to be 100%. But I rate Omac, but I also think Lewis Young's been pretty good. So it's a tough one. Right now, it's hard to tell, but I think especially even Omac just have a one game in the VFL. I don't know, just because he's had histories with back spasms. It's tough. It's a tough one to go to really know what's going to happen. But I wouldn't mind seeing Lewis Young just have one more crack, just especially since he didn't play as well.
I think we missed him a bit against the Suns. I think he comes straight back in my opinion. But no, it's good. Would you consider like a Nunes or something like that can maybe play a few different roles potentially? Oh no, sorry, shouldn't say that. I thought he played well in the VFL when I was there. No.
Yeah, and he can stay in the VFL.
No worries. All right. Can I ask Pat the question though? Is that all right?
Yeah.
I think I actually wouldn't mind Nunes playing just because he's kind of the utility type. And that's kind of what, I know me personally, I definitely would love that for our medical sub to be a utility type. Even like a Brody Kemp, I don't know. But Jake Nunes, I don't want him anywhere near our best 22 or best 23. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, exactly. I said a couple of weeks ago, it's good that players at least aren't playing or at least gifted games. But if he does work, if he works his way back from the VFL and he's, there's an injury or something, he comes in to fill a hole or whatever, I think that's fair enough in my opinion. But obviously, easy disagrees. Speechley?
So for my changes this week, I think pretty stock standard. Stocking for Plough, Pito for Cripper, and Dirds for Fogarty. And then pending Omac's availability, I think if he's fit, ready to go, he comes straight in for Lewis Young for me.
Also, mate, does anyone see Parks coming back in or not?
We had a good game of twos on the weekend, 20 touches. Potentially, maybe at some point, we keep stringing some good games together in twos. It definitely could be a handy inclusion. Yeah,
20 touches is a few for, it's a player of his type. He doesn't usually rack up the possessions, so that was good to see. And I think the VFL, we got another pretty comfortable win, didn't we, as well? So we're undefeated there at the moment, which is always good to see. All right. Anything else you want to add, boys, before we get stuck into the predictions?
No, mate. Let's move on to the predictions, shall we?
No worries, Pato. We'll do that. Thanks, mate. All right, we'll go straight to you then, Pato, since you're so keen, mate. Take us through your first goal, best on ground, and who's going to win and by how much.
Yes, so I have first goal, Matthew Owies. I wouldn't mind seeing him get on the scoreboard early, especially kicking the first goal. What a statement that would make. a little bit of pulling the jumper. Would love that. Would love that. The classic Matt Owies. Best on grounds, my under the pump player, Adam Chera. I think that would be an awesome response to see him absolutely tear it apart on the MCG against Port Adelaide and send them 0-5. And the Mighty Blue Baggers by 19 points I've gone with.
Beautiful. Ethan?
Yep, so first goal, Corey Durden coming back in. If he comes back in, I'm pretty sure he will. So Durds will get the first goal. Best on ground, I think it's time. It's time for Walshy to take the game by the scruff of the neck and sink this Port Adelaide Football Club. Tip, Carlton by a point. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I think it's going to be a ripper of a game. I think it's both teams are heading in with a bit of pressure. Obviously, Port under a bit more pressure being 0-4. But I think, Sunday Arvos usually, they tend to provide pretty good games. So at the G, 1 point game and Sauce to knock over the point to win the game.
Are we in any danger of getting some sort of a decent percentage boost?
I was literally just about to say that.
Yeah, well, I think
the worst percentage.
I think we can't get too picky because, 2018 won 2 games and,
solid times.
3-1. If we win enough games, we don't have to worry about percentage. So, yeah.
How far back do we go in the comparison? 1995, we won the first, how many?
No, I think we just need to not worry about percentage. And, and obviously you'd rather smash a team, but if we're winning games, it's happy days.
Yeah, happy days. All right. Speechley.
Okay. So I'm going J-Sauce, kick first snag, back in the forward line, proper forward line with Pito and TDK. It's the 2 rucks. That will be good for him to be back playing that role he's best at. Then I'm going to go Doc as our bog once again, just that sort of quarterback role, setting up everything from the half back line. And then another close one, Baggers by 8.
Awesome. Surprised you tipped us, but it's good to see, mate. So I'll go first goal to Charlie. I believe he got the first goal last week. I know he did, so I reckon he'll go again. Best on ground, I did have Williams. I thought Williams might play a good game. Still think he will, but I'm going to go Sard. It's probably a pretty safe answer these days because he's been playing some great footy. But I'll go Blues by 23, so probably a bit better of a percentage booster than the rest of you boys went. But it's not 75 points like I went last week. So
improvement. I like it.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay more level-headed. Now, I did almost consider tipping Port, but I don't think I've tipped the other team since we started this. But how upset would you be, Ethan, if we give Port their first win, mate?
Very, very upset. I think puts more pressure on us. The media will start talking about us after they've been talking up about us for the last month or so. Heading into a game next week against Freo over there, which will be tough, but with pressure. If we do lose support, it's going to be an important game.
Yeah, I agree. Pato?
Yeah, I don't want to head over to Perth 3-2. And I just think that with the Port situation, I don't want it to be all about Port getting their first game because I think it's more about how we respond after our loss last week. I mean, obviously, as Carlton supporters, we all say that, but I'm sure the AFL world is probably seeing how Port are 0-4 and pretty much like I saw this show about them talking about Port pretty much guaranteeing that they'll win this week. And I'm like, what? Like they played like absolute trash all year. But I don't know. I just really hope that Carlton just aren't walking in with their egos and acting like that this is a 0-4 team. Because once again, as we said last episode, this team is a prelim side. So we can't walk in acting like we're better than them. We have to walk in on the exact same level, and then as soon as we're in the game, that's when we can start taking control.
Absolutely, mate. What are we at the moment? 3-1, is that right?
Yeah, 3-1. Yeah.
Could be 3-2, Speechley. How would you feel then, mate?
Like a little flat. Obviously, I don't like to get ahead of myself at all. But I think Carlton of old, we saw last week, dropped the game we shouldn't drop. So this is another one that Carlton of old probably doesn't win this game either. So I think going forward, we need to be beating teams that are 0-4. I think that's as simple as that. If we lose this, it'd be I'd just be very flat, I guess.
Well said, mate. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, I think this Sunday as well, we've got the VFL, if I'm reading this correctly, is at 11:05 in the morning against the Tigers, I believe. So we're getting down to that, boys. Ethan, I'm sure you'll make the trek down there, mate.
Yeah, maybe. Is it at Icon?
At Icon Park, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Palo will be there. All right, I'll see you boys there. Speech won't because he hates the footy. But
yeah, we hate the footy.
Anything else to add, boys, before we wrap it up?
Just all the very best to the mighty Blue Baggers on the weekend, eh? All the very best.
Absolutely. And if you're not already, like, follow, subscribe, share, tell your nan, tell everyone. All right. And Pato, take it away, mate.
And as always, boys, hopefully the scarp's up the right way. It is.
There we
Up
go.
the Baggers.
Up the boys.